Ashank, if I hand it back to you, I see both an opportunity in healthcare because now things are opening up, and at the same time, there's still a lot to be done.
Yeah, Amit, let me add to what you are saying from where I am today. I am one of the founding members of Sign at IIT Bombay. I have seen it grown 25 years, almost now 20 years. Also involved with IIT Gandhinagar Technology Park as the chairman of the board. And the other thing which is going to drive this healthcare, one is supply side and IT and all that, but other is the energy of entrepreneurs that I see in this sector. In Sign today, I think if I try, 35-40% of people are working in healthcare, something like that. And even in the newer Gandhinagar area, I see so many people working. These are the tomorrow's services, tomorrow's products of healthcare. And the kind of work that these guys are doing is sometimes way ahead. In IIT Bombay, for example, there is something working at a DNA level and some TB and so on and so forth. So even not only instrumentation and equipment and not only the analytics and the great thing that you are doing, but even at a base level of what I would call medicine, the work is happening. And to me, that is a big hope or future to me, that on one side there is a demand, on the other side there is this AI and data, and the other side are these entrepreneurs who see an opportunity and want to work on it. In fact, doctors around Powai area where I live, he says, "Arey bhai, तुम्हारे IIT के लोग बहुत तंग कर रहे हैं मुझे." Every doctor says somebody comes with something and asks him how does it work and so on. So I am greatly happy. But the point I am making is there's something happening in that. I will see great products and services coming from this country for the obvious reasons that we have a large data, we have largest number of diseases to test and look at it, and there is this whole ecosystem. So something is happening.
Ashank, I've often asked, and this is a pertinent question, many people say, what is going to happen with AI in healthcare, right? Will the doctor be irrelevant? Will the hospital completely change the way it does treatment and patients? I think the examples we are seeing is actually that, one, there is massive opportunity given that the supply of healthcare professionals and the demand for healthcare is still, there is a massive gap, and whatever numbers we call out, that gap will never be bridged. Today, India is also an export hub for healthcare talent. Nurses, doctors, paramedics constantly are moving out of the country, either to Europe or to Middle East, right? And that's not going to change. They are looking for better opportunities. Now, what do we do? At the same time, you have AI and you have data that is coming in. And I have seen now real examples of how it is actually supporting clinician practices, it is supporting faster drug discovery, it is supporting more decision making at the time of diagnosis that is happening. So my fundamental premise is that I don't think that AI is going to actually replace the current. It is going to help in some pockets where there is huge capacity issues. And it is a massive opportunity for India. Because to the point you mentioned, what is also happening because of geopolitics, India is becoming a much bigger base for innovation in healthcare. One, we are 1/6 of the world population. The second is, India represents a lot of innovation that could be driven around what we call LMICs, all of Africa, Middle East, countries in Southeast Asia, because the clinical hub is of India. When I look at investors and large financial institutions, they are actually rooting for India to become the next global clinical hub, as you have one in the West. Now, what does it mean for companies or entrepreneurs that are in India? How do you support this? It's not just about you building consumer businesses in retail or others. It is about how you actually start creating intellectual property in driving or breaking down parts of the clinical process and doing it out of here. Because you have the pool, you have the base, you have the infrastructure that is around. And that is a massive opportunity for the next 10, 15 years. It is not an opportunity of today. What has happened so far is we've got a lot of this that has come in and built out consumer-driven businesses. People know how to search for doctors. People know how to buy medicine. People know how to get the next best brand. People know how to buy a surgery in a hospital. But the next layer of actually building out knowledge-based businesses, driving innovation is yet to come. And with where we are heading, I think that's the big opportunity, and that will get enabled by supportive technologies like LLMs or AI. I don't know what you see in other sectors.
Yeah, so I was yesterday only on TV discussing some of these AI issues. So I will say that doctors will not replace AI. AI will not replace doctors, but it will certainly replace doctors who do not know how to use AI. That I can tell you for sure. So there are people who know AI, doctors, and those who don't know AI. Those who are not knowing AI will definitely get replaced. So the point I'm making is, this is true not only in healthcare, but it is true all over the sectors, that AI will be a good assistant and a supporter to whatever you do, wherever you do. So you should not get scared. Having said that, what is important to note, and I would take a very high level macro view here, any productivity improvement in software industry, and I have been observing it 40 years, so I have some bit of perspective here. I have used punch card, by the way. You might not have seen it, Amit. I have used punch card to run computer programs. From IIT, I used to go to TiECon to run my card deck. So I am talking of those days where there were only maybe 10,000 programmers worldwide or whatever. But the productivity improvement has 100 times increased since then. Has the programmers gone down? Is the number of people required gone down? No. Why? Because any productivity improvement increases the application requirement 2 or 3 times more than improvement in productivity. This is a cycle. The improvement in productivity does not in fact replace people who are doing work, but it increases because it creates new kinds of applications and new kind of demands from our customer. I'll give you an example. Today I am working in healthcare itself, by the way, in Mastek and in US in some area, where I am using AI related to customer interactions. Now that particular application would not have happened without AI usage. So AI is allowing me to generate or imagine a new application which was not even possible. So what I have really done is I have actually increased the demand for the IT services by using AI, and it has not replaced somebody. So the point I am making is AI fear is uncalled for. It may have some discontinuities in the short run, but in longer run, the applications that we have never even imagined are going to happen. And I also don't know what are they going to be, and none of us can imagine. I can only say one thing: in IT industry, the applications that we are seeing today that you are running were not even seen 10 years ago. And it has all happened because of improvement in productivity and the communication and the base cycle of Moore's law and so on and so forth. So the point I am making is AI should be embraced with a welcome, saying that yes, it will make my difference to my life, my industry, because that's what it is going to do. And healthcare, of course, is part of that, and it will happen there too. I think let's move to some advice probably to entrepreneurs. Starting from you, and I can add few things.
So yeah, which was one of the points I think we should move to. And I think on entrepreneurship, let me share with you an entrepreneur I met about 2 months ago, and you all must have heard of Arogya Setu, right? Arogya Setu. What we know about Arogya Setu is that it's an app and a platform that the government created during COVID. But what we don't know is that it's the largest downloaded healthcare app in the world, right? So that is Arogya Setu. Now Arogya Setu was built by a team of people who were basically not doing anything because they were sitting idle while COVID had hit, and they used to work for an online travel agency. So this was a team of tech developers who were not doing anything.
You can name them.
So it's the Make My Trip team, right? So Deep and Amitabh Khan were together, and Amitabh said, look, we really need help. So Deep's tech team actually went and built this. Now, so it was, why I'm sharing this story is these guys did not know healthcare when they got into this, right? They built this out. They understood the patient journey, and then they ended up building out a healthcare tech company, which is now supporting both Ayushman Bharat and some other areas. So one is, the myth many times, people at least who are entrepreneurs who want to build healthcare businesses have that, look, I need to be a doctor, or I really need to understand healthcare. That is a myth. Because there are many basic principles in health that could be applied and which are much needed today from different sectors. Understanding consumer behavior, understanding process, industrializing a process, driving more and more efficiency into a system, to the point Ashank mentioned, right? All of these are things that are needed. Interoperability, content, right? Because we have 31 states. How do you make sure that content is interoperable as well as user-friendly? All of that is there. So one. Second, at the same time, if I look at healthcare businesses in India, and let me put the elephant in the room out there, there has been a mixed response on how health tech companies have done, or digital health companies have done, right, in the country, on one side. At the same time, traditional businesses in healthcare have done really well, especially pre and post-COVID, whether it's pharma businesses, whether it's hospitals, diagnostics, and others. So when investors come and ask, they typically ask the question, look, what's really happening? What are entrepreneurs doing, and whether they will be successful in building out healthcare business? My response to that is, I think this is the first stage, right? The market is still opening up. There are people who are coming in, they are learning, they are applying. And I think in that whole process, there will be some people who will continue to stay on and some people who will decide to actually look and go other ways. Is there a fundamental demand? There is. Are there problems to solve? There are. Is there capital that is available? There is in healthcare, right? We are also a situation where very few healthcare businesses in India have been built out for the world. If you look at it, that's not the case in other sectors. There is still an opportunity to build out what we can do and then export that. That's not yet happened. So to me, right now, there is a playing field that is there. What you do need to understand is within the segment, there are very, very clear pockets of opportunities. And there are three I would like to name, right, which are still existing. One is, there is huge opportunity in the supply chain in healthcare. You have close to 2 lakh crores of drugs that move through the chain, and that volume is growing by 10% every year. Indian pharma market grows by 10% every year, right? You have 55,000 distributors and 1 million chemists. Less than 10% of them are automated. There is a massive opportunity in actually figuring out what you do with that supply chain. There are companies who are trying to do it, but I think there's still a big opportunity there. Second, there is a massive opportunity as India is becoming, as the income levels are increasing in India. What is happening today is that people want to look better, they want better teeth, better hair, better skin, they want to be thinner. I'm being very blunt, but there are massive opportunities in dermatology, skin health, sexual health, obesity, everything else, and it's not just the metro cities. It's every tier 2, tier 3 city which is spending in trying to look better and feel better. That's happening as we are progressing, right? People are spending money. The third, which is the biggest burden in the country, because we have 1 million people who are pushed into or diagnosed with oncology. There is a huge demand for both oncology treatment and oncology diagnostics. It's still not solved. The fourth is diagnostics. Today, if you look at the entire diagnostic infrastructure, only 5% of diagnostic labs are accredited in the country. 95% is still unorganized, right? And that's the gateway to which what we need to do. And the last point, which I was mentioning, is research and innovation. India is slowly but steadily becoming the hub for innovation, drug discovery that will happen. Because we have the population, we have what is needed to actually launch now. The entire environment has changed. So these are 4 or 5 opportunities that still exist. The consumer-driven opportunities are being addressed, right? So I'm going to pause here, but this was very healthcare specific. I'm sure Ashank has views on what could be done more from the broader technology perspective.
Yeah, so a macro number, IT industry perspective, we are, as I said, 220 billion. We are already talking of 350 billion kind of industry in next 5, 6, 7 years. So imagine we are almost adding another whole industry again in next 7 years. So the demand is there for all of you. You have to decide what to do. So I don't think demand at a macro level is going to be an issue. The real issue, Amit, is finding out what I, as an entrepreneur, should be doing. And that's where the challenge lies. Be it in healthcare or any other sectors. And fintech is going to be big, way AI is going to become, deep tech is going to be big. One can spend a lot of time in all the sectors. But the point I have seen, Amit, with entrepreneurs and having worked with, in Sign particularly with 200, we have incubated by the way, so far, 220 entrepreneurs, and some of them have become unicorns, some of them have become successful faculty entrepreneurs and so on and so forth. The real issue is most of the entrepreneurs as I see today are all driving for a product and finding a customer. And that is a biggest challenge that all of them have. They struggle because they have not thought through their product and services through customers' eyes. And my urge to them always is that first meet your customer, find out what they want, and then find out what you are good at. Not the other way, that you know what you are good at, so I'll build a product. And time and again, we wearing different hats of mine. In CII, for example, we have now Industry Entrepreneur Connect, and even we do it in healthcare, by the way. We connect them with doctors and things like that. All that has kind of helped. So my advice to the aspiring entrepreneur, if there is one, single one that is, and having all of us, I think, are investing in angel investors, and then same story again. We have invested into some entrepreneur, probably sometimes without checking the customer connect and the fit with the customer of their products more thoroughly, and then we have lost money. So my advice to the entrepreneur, budding entrepreneur, is single-handed focus on customer, finding out what are the problems. Rather than seeing solution, first find out what real the problems are, and you will be greatly successful. And I can give you an example in Sign. A professor, by the way, has built a system for auto industry. By studying the requirement thoroughly before, he was a professor, so he understood what were the constraints fortunately, and it has been a success. So that's my advice. Shall we move to some advice to the existing entrepreneurs too? I'm sure you will have, but let me start there. I was very enlightened to hear the angel investors before us, and some of them were talking about the issues that they have with entrepreneurs, and I could relate with it because what I'm going to say is exactly the same thing. If they take care of that, it will be a great story. I say to be a successful entrepreneur, you need, if you are to be victorious, that is V, you need 3 V's. If you take care of those 3 V's, I think most of the things will be settled nicely. The 3 V's are, like any building house, you need a foundation first. You need a top floor, and you need something in between, obviously, to live. So you start, of course, with foundation in a way, and that is about values. I think values are completely underestimated by entrepreneurs in terms of its importance to make things happen. And some of them did talk about the values, angel investors. It is about integrity, it is about customer focus, it is about considering employees not as an employee but a partner, and there is a long list. The point I'm making is, if you don't have the values, and I have seen failures after failures because of wrong set of values, wrong sets of attitudes, and that is something that is most difficult to figure out when you start funding them, but it is something which becomes apparent when they start running the institution. So that's first V. The other V is, of course, you can't have a building without really thinking of what top floor we are going to have, which is about the vision. And that vision is something that drives you, and I can tell you from my story, 40 years ago, I don't think I would have been where I am today without some vision in my mind and my colleagues' mind as to what we want to be. What we want to be drives you, and that clarity is not there, then I think you are just trying to do something to just get next venture capitalist or just next exit. I tell all entrepreneurs, why are you so concerned about just getting investment and trying to sell off? Why don't you think of building an institution? Some of us in the industry when we started, Amit, we were not talking of selling off after 5 years and making some money. I don't think, fortunately we were not thinking like that. We were thinking of building an institution as a part of an IT industry to make country proud. Now that can be one vision, that can be any other vision. But the point I'm making is, if you lack vision, you are not going to be successful. And the last and middle one, and I have seen failures there, you have best vision, you have good values, but you still fail because you lack what is called vitality. Vitality is about making the institution happen. It is about systems and processes, it is about execution details, it is about quality, it is about result orientation and all host of it. And that is where you struggle when you start growing and becoming, seeing the light of the day, but you struggle because you do not have all that part of it being taken care of. So my last advice to entrepreneurs is the law of 6. Amit, I don't know whether you will agree with me, but I have founded 2 IT companies, Mastek and Mastek. I have been lucky to be founder member of NASCOM and SIGN and another 3 non-profits. So after all these 6 or 7 founding, I have what is called as rule of 6. You need to have patience to work hard for 6 years, and 6 can be, if you are lucky it may happen in 3 years, and if you are unlucky it may take 8. 6 is just a placeholder. But suddenly something starts happening after 5 or 6 years that you see a success. If you give up before that, you are just abandoning an idea whose time has come probably, but you did not have a patience. In 6 years, something starts happening. Customers are confident about your product. They are seeing that you are surviving and you are going to make serve him for a longer period. Employees see that there is something happening here, and a company is getting built, and we see things happening. And investors, of course, see the track record over 5-6 years and start giving more money. So, I started a non-profit, and same story. We were struggling for 5-6 years, but suddenly, within 6 years, one of our partners, which was government in this case, government of Jharkhand, with whom we build a skill building institutions. This is not time to discuss that, but they suddenly became our partner, and now we are running the whole state's skill mission ourselves in the sense, it's an organization called PARFI. The point I'm making is, we were about to abandon it in 3-4 years. I told the founder or entrepreneur, just wait, things will happen. So that's my advice. Sorry for being long. Amit, maybe you have successful faster. So my advice is not useful to you maybe.
I am taking on board your advice, Ashank. Your advice comes from years and years of having been there, done that, and you speak from the heart when you say what is there. I would only say one thing. When I look at healthcare entrepreneurs, many of them actually have gone and built a business because they have been through that problem personally, or some of their family member has been through that. I've seen many of them. So that inner force actually launches them to do something that can help larger society. And it's a great launch pad. I think from there on, I just hope that spirit continues to actually navigate and build out and then apply some of your principles. At the same time, before I close, I know we are out of time. And this is more about this ecosystem and time, right? I just want to say, all of you are here. I don't know how many of you all are in what way engaged in this platform and forum. But our ethos is actually to help make your journey smoother and actually pass as much of the learning as many of us in this group have to help you succeed, right? So you have this network that is available not only in Surat but across the world. And it is very, very important for you all to know that. I mean, today it's not about Ashank being here and speaking just for this 30 minutes, right? Him being part of time means that he is available, as am I, or Dharti or whoever, to actually figure out what could be the potential mistakes some of us would have made that you could avoid. That is the power of this network, right? More than anything else, that's maybe the 7th principle I would add. Figure out how you can find a few people in your journey that can actually make it more successful and more beautiful. Thank you.
What a wonderful session. We are truly moved. Thank you so much. Before I say anything, I would like to request Mr. Ashfaq Shiliva